We mogen starten. Welcome to the talk Product Owners and Their Mistakes. My name is Julia Müller. I'm working at Ordina since 2015. And even before that, I had various assignments as product owner, as proxy product owner, or as an analyst that should have been product owner instead of the product owner who was absent. But I encountered a lot of things that didn't sit right with me, didn't sit right with what I knew about Agile, which evolved, by the way, over the 4 or 5 years in which I was busy with that topic. But this is a little bit my collection about what I found in the practice and what we could do about it as a team, as team members, as people in organizations working with Agile, working with Scrum. So my first question would be, who of you knows Scrum? That's a good sign, so I can spare all the essential explanations. And who of you knows something about product ownership? A little bit less. Who is aspiring to be a product owner? Maybe? Great. You learn all about what to avoid. Let's begin. What does a product owner do? Anyone? Define priorities, yeah. Priorities about what? Product backlog items. And what are product backlog items? What do they contain? Features could be? What is a feature? Yeah. The wishes of the customer, yes. Something the customer actually wants. That's what a product backlog item should contain. Scrum Guide formulates it as this. Product owners are also responsible for maximizing the value of the product. And that is a very essential thing, because what the product customer wants, that's one side of the story. But what he's willing to pay for, that is the value we're actually creating. So value is not all the wishful thinking a customer has in his mind. And it's of a product. And I use product, system, or service in this talk interchangeably. So please don't narrow it down to fast-moving consumer goods or anything like that. It's just an IT system or anything IT related. And the work of the development team, because we have a product owner that should say what we are doing, and the development team that should realize it in broad directions. So I have two parties that should work together. How this is done may vary widely across organizations. That's great, right? So we have a Scrum Guide that tells us how it should be, but not how exactly we achieve that. So how we achieve that is completely filled out by any organization by themselves. And with anything where there's no real practice or no real guidance, there are a lot of mistakes made. So that's a little bit the reason why this talk was born, and a lot of other talks about the same topic. Why should we actually care, the people who are not product owners? Isn't this just a talk about product owner? A lot of you don't aspire to be a product owner, so what are you doing here? No? Yeah? As a team, we are mostly dependent on the product owner doing a good job. The job of the product owner has an exponentially higher influence on the success of a product than the development team. That's unfortunate, because it's one person versus many, and many are mostly smarter. So what we can all do is help our product owners get better and make our lives easier as team members. That's a good thing, right? So, if we go a little bit further than Agile, then we also have a DevOps movement. And in DevOps, it states firmly, the whole team is end-to-end responsible for the product. Anyone sees that happening in practice? Nice, nice. I believe that because I am also a firm believer because that many brains are always a little bit smarter than one brain. So please think with your product owner. Think about the success of your product, even though you're just a developer. And that is not the meaning. So, the first mistake, very common one, because who here has known, hey, that's a technical product, I'm a product owner, I don't have anything to do with technique or IT, oh my gosh, scary. Software. Has anybody heard that sentence from this product owner? Yeah, a few. Great, no? Yeah, product owner who doesn't know his product should remove himself from the project. It's not just his product, he also needs to know who he is building this for. His customers. It's his job to know. If he can explain his product in 3 minutes to any stakeholder, so the stakeholder actually understands the product, he doesn't know his product. So if you get to work on Monday, please ask your product owner, hey, what is our product? What is our system about? And if he needs half an hour, that's also bad to explain it. Yeah? 3 minutes. It's a good pitch. I have also heard this sentence a lot. Yeah, the product owner, that's the one that's called proxy a lot. He is going around like a little bit travel to Jerusalem to every stakeholder and says, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And then he comes back to the development and says, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. And then the development team has questions, and then that is the answer. Yeah, that is not knowing your product. According to Roman Pichler, you are, as a product owner, responsible and accountable for the success of the product. How can you be responsible or accountable for something you don't know or you don't get? That really is fundamental. And this ownership, it's in the name, please. Ownership means you know your shit. One thing that can help product owners get a little bit more of a sense what their product is, for example, a product canvas. Also helps to get to know your customer using personas or customer journeys. You find explanations about this kind of stuff in other talks and blog posts. Yeah, second mistake. The team doesn't have a product. It's also one I have come across a lot. What is the problem about that? You don't know what you're making. You're making a little task for something in the organization, but you're missing context and you switch tasks a lot. What do we know about task switching? No focus, no quality, sub-optimizing, and wasting a lot of time because you need to still learn a little bit about what you're building to actually make that task sufficient. Yeah, that's also not good. So if you're continuously working on something else or having 3 or 4 products in the same team and the other team next to you has the same 3 or 4 products, please switch it up. Please make sure your team actually has a focus, has a goal, has one product or system that they're working for. It's much more effective. Next mistake. Who has read or made a user story like this? Yeah, nice. What is wrong with this user story? It's a solution, yeah. What is the problem of having a solution in a user story? Is it a problem? No. Apparently I still have to convince you. If one person, namely the product owner, whoever wrote this solution on there, what does the rest of the team do? They stop thinking, yeah, why? It's already there, the solution. And they think, hey, this is the solution. Somebody has thought about what the user needs. So this is the solution for it. So we implement it, and then we release it, and then we are surprised that no customer wanted it. Oops. No. You should always state what the user needs. And there's something fundamentally missing in this user story. The why, yeah. So I went and reordered a backlog, and instead of writing these two parts of a user story, I deleted them, and I wrote only the so that. Point by point, so that. And then that was fine. And we implemented user stories in that way. Why? The third part, the one that is really missing in a lot of backlogs of a user story, that's the most important part. That allows a team to flexibly think about solutions that fill in that need, and not things that one product owner, who is probably not the smartest with technology, thought about, hey, how should we implement this? This is also a lot of times a sign that something equally fundamentally crucial is missing. A vision. A vision is something that should not be missing in Scrum. If you don't have a vision for your product or your system, please don't do Scrum. Scrum is something that develops towards a goal. If you don't develop towards a goal, if you're just implementing a set of requirements that is already predefined and legally required, you don't need Scrum. Yeah, I'm an advocate of not using Scrum for something that's not meant to be done in Agile. No vision is also no focus. I worked for the Office of Labor in Germany, and one of their visions was to reduce 10% of costs with IT. That's a great vision. What can you do with it as an IT team? You implement? Yeah. Or you let go of 10% of your IT people. Then you have achieved the same goal. That actually would require more thought. But that is not the vision that guides. That's not a vision that gives direction. In Scrum, we have autonomous team. We want to have autonomous teams. In DevOps, we even want to have decision-making within the team that goes beyond, hey, I want to place the button right or left on the page. Yeah? We want to enable the team to think about the product and what the user could use it for. And therefore, we need certain direction and guidance. And a vision can provide that. So when I started there, as that analyst that didn't have a product owner, I thought, what do you want to achieve? Where do you see the German Office of Labor in 2020? And then I came to the realization, hey, what I meant with 10% cost reduction means actually digitize any and all interaction between customers, the people who don't have work, and the back office who processes the requests that come in, and the administration. So that digitization, that is something that you can strive towards. Not the best vision ever defined, but something a lot better than 10% cost reduction. So think about, what is your vision, and actually does it give guidance? Because if a vision doesn't give guidance to your teams and enables your team to make decisions without running to your product owner with every little bit, that's the goal. It could be. If it's necessary for the organization, yeah, it could be. But there are a lot of ways to achieve that. So you also need to have a deeper understanding of the organization. Okay, how do we go about cost reduction? And there's often a lot missing in how how can we actually proceed? Because 10% cost reduction, as I said, can mean lay off 10% of your people. A lot of managers step towards that. If you don't, could be. I'm not saying that 10% cost reduction is not a vision that could work for some organizations. I say most don't know what to do with that. So make it concrete and have a conversation. As we are now talking about it, you make it a lot concreter. And if people talk about a vision, it becomes clearer and definer. And you also know in which boundaries you can move. For example, for the German Office of Labor, laying off people was not realizable because, well, they are employed by the state. It's very difficult to lay them off. One way to formulate a vision, or help your team maybe formulate a vision, is a postcard from the future. Anyone ever written a postcard from the future? Yeah? What was it like?
Creates diverse thinking. So a lot of ideas get generated, which is very interesting to pick from and navigate from.
Yeah. It can really help yourselves to place yourself, hey, what is possible with the product we are working on? Mistake number 4. That one I came across when the position of a PO is filled with someone who has worked in IT their whole life and never actually had any business relation whatsoever. A product owner is responsible and accountable for the success of a product. Most organizations we work for, and even the state-owned organizations, they have business directives, or they have to be cost-effective. And that means we cannot just build anything we like and do anything we like and expect to still get paid. There's an economic reasoning behind the product owner position. He has to make sure that there's a value created, meaning the cost of developing something is less than the customers or the users of that product will gain from it. And that doesn't always have to be monetary, but it needs to be in a relation. And what I come across is then the dreamer, I call him the dreamer, that thinks of feature after feature after feature, and my customer wants this, and my customer wants this, and my customer wants this. And he always forgets the 4 points that I listed here. The actual cost that this feature incurs if developed, because it's something 2 of 5 million users use. And well, he forgets the reliability of the system, because every feature we add complexity. Every complexity we add makes it less feasible to keep something live. It makes it less feasible to maintain it, make the cost of that higher. If you reason economically, then every feature you add to a product is a very well thought out decision that should incur benefits to someone. Significant benefits, not just 2 out of 5 million customers. More. These are economic decisions. Most often they are treated as, yeah, but it's something the tech team does. No, that's economically reasoning. So please ask your product owner if he says, nah, we don't need to do any technical debt, any maintenance. This is important. This incurs the overall cost of your product. So technical debt, not my problem, is not good. It's also something that is written in the Agile principles. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility, and therefore enhances your ability to actually add features, to actually change the product according to market circumstances or to customer wishes. And makes you flexible in what you do with the product. Also, sometimes can mean shutting down the product. Because I don't know if you ever heard of Martin Fowler's theory on design stamina. It actually says if you lack attention to design or have bad design, the cost of a future feature increases exponentially. And you are not able to actually add any more features at a certain point. I see a lot of agile projects going very well the first 2 years, and then it takes about 5 months to add another background color. Yeah, that's not how agile is supposed to work. Investing in delivery speed. That is something often said, hey, that doesn't have any customer value. True. Customer value is not always business value. We talk in Scrum about business value. Business value means you can also sometimes invest in things. And if you're investing now 2 months in speeding up your delivery process and can deliver the next 3 features in 1 month instead of 2, you actually gain something. There needs to be a relation, but it's still an economic decision. Next problem. Who knows Jim Carrey's film The Yes Sayer? Yeah. I have a lot of product owners. I've met a lot of product owners that said yes to everyone. What is the problem with saying yes to everything the customer wants? We want to satisfy the customer, right? Again? It's a recipe for disaster, yes. But why? It's not feasible. It's not it's too much. It can be conflicting. Why is there actually one product owner person? Why is there not a committee of product owners or a group of product owners, group of product managers, even better? That's get with all their requests to one product owner who has to channel them. Democracy doesn't work. Yeah. Nice that we live in Belgium and Netherlands. Let's change it up, go to dictatorship. Yeah, in certain ways, democracy has disadvantages. One is speed of decision making. And in Agile, we need fast decisions. If we don't have one person that can make a decision, it's often worse if he doesn't make a decision than if he makes the wrong decision. You can rectify a wrong decision. You notice because you have the feedback loop with the customer enabled. If he doesn't make a decision, it never gets released. You don't have any feedback. You still don't know if the decision was right or wrong. That's why we have one person in Scrum. Also, if you have more than one person, a committee or someone who says yes to everything, yeah, I love that picture, your product becomes a Frankenstein. Why is that a problem? The most successful PowerPoint presentation, don't shut up. That was not good in quality. Can I ask Axel to help me with this? I'm just going to continue. Well, if you already seen the Frankenstein, so I'm very glad that I pressed the button already. What is a Frankenstein product? Does anyone has an example? Nobody wants a Frankenstein product, but it's also comprised of any and all parts that don't really fit together. I worked at a Rabobank, and unfortunately that was one of these Frankenstein products. I'm honest, there was all and every feature that the bank had available propped in one app. That's a completely different approach than ABN. ABN's Tiki and Grip app that provide additional features than just making transactions that you do with your normal banking app are just different applications. So they set up different modules for people who want the additional functionality but didn't prop everything in one app. And that worked a lot better, Why? They didn't have problems with scalability, they didn't have problems with adding features, they didn't have problems with it being slow, and everything else. So a Frankenstein product really gives the technical side of a product a lot of challenges that should be better avoided. Frankenstein is on its way.
It's in the Nieberg movie, the product owner in a nutshell. That the product owner practices in front of the mirror to say no every day.
Yeah. Why is it so important to say no?
I think you reduce.
Yeah. And the reason why a product owner cannot say no are very yeah. It could be that he doesn't know this agile principle. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. It is sometimes useful to remind your product owner of that. But also, if you lack the mandate to say no in some organizations, then there should be a striving for making the organization more agile, actually trusting the product owner to make a decision and running with it, and not the next stakeholder coming to the team, hey, I know product owner said this, but please do this. Doesn't work. Send these people just right back to your product owner. Let them fight it out. Otherwise, they're not learning it. Or it's just a lack of self-assurance that can be the reason why this product owner doesn't say no. You should challenge user stories that in your vision or in the vision of the organization don't add value. Please do. The discussion you have on a user story that you're not doing is much less time than if you implement it. You ask your customer, it doesn't work for him, and you have to remove it again. Have that discussion beforehand. Another common trait in product owners: wishful thinking. Everyone's gonna love our product. And you develop and you develop and you develop, and you're a year in development, and everyone is ready for the big party and the big release. And then, well, you guessed wrong. Also happened at the Rabobank. They launched the new and improved the perfect app. It hit the store ratings at 1 star. Yeah, that's not a launch you're proud of. A lot of catering services had to cut their losses as well, not just Rabobank. A lot of parties were cancelled. And a lot of work went into finding out what did we miss. What was it the customer actually wanted from us? And that's a little bit where Lean Startup comes in. Please don't wait to validate your assumptions that you have about your product in the market. And that is not something just the product owner is involved in. Because you, as team, have the ability to continuously monitor what the customer does with your product. There are a lot of tools analyzing user behavior in your product, or even make it possible to test something without having actual software behind it. Mockups, A/B testing, fronts that are only just a click on a website but don't have an actual processing behind it. It's very easy to implement. Your product owner might not know about these technologies, but they're very easy and can very easily test whether a product can be successful. So help him create that continuous feedback flow. The same goes about progress. You have a lot of we're going to make it, and we're going to make it all on time, and it's a week before release, and we have not done about 50% of the features that is expected. To communicate that at this point is a recipe for disappointment. And it's not fair against your stakeholders, against the people waiting on this product, to not be transparent enough to say, hey, this is the progress we made so far. In our demos, we did not show you just a few nice pictures, a few nice wireframes, few nice fronts, but behind that, nothing else is working. Yeah, I've seen so many demos, and most of them are made with PowerPoint. That's not a demo. A sprint review should be letting the user start up the application, work with the application, and if he gets stuck, you ask him why. Or what did you expect? The discussion about what comes next, what should be added, what should be done in the next sprint, that should be the main focus of your sprint review. That's why it's called a review and not a demo. It's not a presentation. So please keep in mind the Scrum pillar. Oh. And then we have the other product owner, the product owner that used to be an analyst most of the time. I'm also guilty of that. It's actually my own fault. I have created a backlog of 150 items, and that's actually not that bad. I've seen product backlogs of 300 to 800 product backlog items. But actually what my mentor at the time told me, what was very valuable and very hard lesson to learn, you're going to take the first 50 and you're going to delete the rest of the 100. Yeah. And I did that in Jira, and you still had to delete them one for one, so there was a very hard lesson to learn. Yeah, but having more than 50 backlog items is not worth it. It's waste. It's an inventory from Lean. It's also collecting details in there that were relevant 2 years ago, but until you get to realizing them, they're not relevant anymore. And you stick to that because it's written there, so it must be true, but maybe it's not true anymore. So you fool yourself in not actually chasing after the information that is current, that's accurate. And maybe also not challenging whether this requirement that is put in the user story here is still useful, is still wished, is still something that your users want. So please don't obsess over details. The same goes for definitions of done that are more than a page long. There are, yeah, I've seen them more than a page long. There's a nice concept of 3 C's. A user story should be a card, and I mean a post-it card like this. If you write very small, you get a lot of it in there, but so I expect you to use these thick pencils. A card is a reminder that we need to talk about this. And the only thing you actually write down in your Jira should be acceptance criteria containing to that user story. Because the rest is done in the conversation, the 3rd C. And the conversation should be face-to-face. I know it's not always possible, but please include your product owner in your refinements. If he's not available, we come to that fault later. And we, of course, have the perfectionist. The perfectionist. No, it's not yet ready to be released. We're working in iterations. That's one of the fundamental concepts of agile development. No, a first release is never perfect, and its first release is never bug-free, and a first release is never complete. And that's okay. Because what we want to achieve with agile development is speed of delivery, time to market, concepts that are economically very valuable to organizations. I dare to say that let's say the payment request functionality of the Rabobank is better than the Tiki functionality of ABN. Same functionality, 2 different banks. Everyone uses Tiki, nobody uses the Rabobank. Even their own customers don't. Why? They have been at the market 1 year before. They still own the market share. They still have the customers that are gotten used to them. Everyone who uses a handkerchief still calls it tempo in Germany. I don't know how it is here, but if you are the first in the market, it has economic value. And please make your product owner aware that this is more important than having a complete and perfect product in the market. A concept that you can use for this is minimum viable product, also a lot of literature on that. So, we come to mistake number 8. No presence and no communication. Yeah. Communication is one of the most important reasons why anything goes wrong in organizations. And yes, that is not something particular to Scrum. So I would also ask your product owner to work on his soft skills. If he comes across as, hey, you didn't do that right, that's not constructive feedback. If he tells you, hey, but that you should have known, then you need to tell him, well, you didn't give me a vision, so I didn't know where we were heading. What you gave me as a requirement, not as a user story, because if I had a user story, I would know what the customer needs and I could do something that aligns with that. But I had a requirement, I implemented a requirement. If you expected something different, you should have talked to me. So please, talk to your product owner. If he's not there, then ask somebody else to be the product owner. It's one of the most important sentences in the Scrum Guide. Product owner should be there with the team. If he's not doing his job. And you can forget it. Also, he should be prepared for meetings. It's not nice if the product owner wastes the whole team's time, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. Hey, I haven't talked to the stakeholder yet. I can't give you an answer yet. He's the product owner. If he cannot make a decision, he sometimes needs to verify information. Okay. But if the team asks for it, he needs to make the decision. That is his job. That's why he gets paid most often more bucks than you. And another issue related to conversation. I have seen a lot of product owners who then think, hey, I was an architect before. I know this is not a 13. Well, sorry, but you used to program with COBOL, so now it's a 13, and we decided as a team. Everyone has their talents that they bring to the table. If he is such a great architect, he might not be the best product owner. Maybe switch up the roles. Happened. Was successful. I like to cite Steve Jobs. You don't employ people you don't trust. So you hired this person for a certain job. Let them do their job. And let them be confident and be the expert of the job that you hired them for. Don't try to undermine them. Don't try to micromanage them. Your team decides how much effort something will be for them. And number 10, that's also something I love. I see a product owner and he says, hey, this is the app, this is the button that goes here, this is the wireframe, how it should be designed. Please, team, do as I say, implement it. That's not agile. That's again one brain thinking about the big next fancy idea, the innovation, the technology that is used. He is not as smart as all of you. Together, discuss it, come up with ideas. Please bring your own ideas into the product backlog. It's your repository of what comes next in the product and what makes that product successful. So, that's my last slide. We should focus on what matters. And what matters is that we satisfy our customer and don't make our own lives hell. So, please, be reasonable. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
I met product owners who said in the let's say old world, we had the project manager, we had the release manager, we had the one who shipped it to the customers.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have an agile, we have a Scrum team, we have a Scrum master, and all the rest. Do I have to do that? So do I have to talk to all the stakeholders? Do I have to talk to the team? And do you have to explain it all over the world to our locations how it works?
There's a whole movement that discusses that a product owner is actually a little bit a different title for superhero or Superman. Yes, you are responsible for that, but it's in your responsibility. So if you're smart, you delegate. You cannot do everything yourself. So if a team never met their stakeholders, then I think something is wrong. Your customers are there, and you can reach them. Even if they're 7 million, they let you hear what is wrong with the product via the App Store or via Central Station, where you go out and say, hey, you're using a banking app. What do you like about it and what do you don't? Customers are all around us, even in more complicated systems. For example, again, back-end processing of labor invoice requests. There were also stakeholders. They were sitting in a very dark office in the other side of town, luckily. But then you step into your car, you go there, and you talk to them. And if your product owner doesn't have the time to do it all the time, then please send someone from the team. Yes, it's a lot, but it also gives you the choice in what to focus on and what not. I stepped into a product where a product owner was there for 2 weeks, and then he stepped out because he was overworked and burned out. And I can imagine, because he had a list of, he gave me a list of, I think, 68 stakeholders. Yeah. And then I wrote an email. Dear stakeholders, please state your interest in this product. Please state how you want to be informed and when. And if I don't hear from you in the next 2 weeks, you're not going to receive any more information from me. I heard back from 15 stakeholders. Yeah. So, that's a nice way of reducing that number. And not everyone in the organization needs to have something to say about your product. That's why you are a product owner. It means you should have the mandate to make some decisions yourself. Otherwise, you're not the right person for the job. I've seen product owners who really just run around and run themselves ragged. If they don't have a vision of their own, if they don't have an opinion of their own, of their product, there's something missing. And it's never going to be a cohesive whole, one product, if he's just doing what everyone else says. You get your Frankenstein. Any other questions?
If the product owner is not empowered or doesn't have a mandate to tackle the things you're referring to, project, I don't feel the PO has any mandate. It's run over by 5 people. He hasn't been able to decide anything himself or to improve anything himself. He has no connection to anything whatsoever. Yet he has a label of PO. So I don't blame him.
Well, proving something, you don't always need permission to prove something. You can run tests on your customer very sneakily yourself and go back to management with numbers. That is very convincingly, and it's often good to ask for forgiveness later in cases like this. So enable your product owner to have some courage to run tests. If he's convinced customer wants something different than their stakeholders saying, please ask your customer, get the data from your customers and convince management to trust in that data instead of in opinionated stakeholders. If he doesn't get mandate from their stakeholders, then go back to their stakeholders and ask, what do they want? Do they want a successful product? Then they should be a product owner. It's hard to hear for some product owners, but most often they might not be the right person for the job. If he doesn't get the trust of the organization, then he should, honestly, he should not do that job. Put it at the stakeholders' feet. Say, for next 2 weeks, I'm going to be your analyst, I'm going to be in the team, and you're going to be my product owner, because you obviously want to make all the decisions. The product owner makes decisions. That is his main job. The rest can be done by the team. And it's only the final decision. Suggestions and ideas and everything else can be done by a whole team. So yes, try to encourage your product owner to take a leap and challenge the stakeholders to overrule him, because in the long run he doesn't have any any benefit of staying in a position where he doesn't have a mandate. Does that help you? Huh. I mean, in a lot of organizations where we work are also very concerned about the health of their employees. If he's an internal employee of that organization, you can also try to talk to him about how that makes him feel, because he's probably not happy about it. And unhappy people get unmotivated, and unmotivated people get burned out. Honestly, yeah, preventing that risk, maybe HR can do something for you. Try to think different ways. He certainly has a manager. Maybe he can give him more mandate. Any more? Yeah.
What's the strategy if your product is finished?
If your product is finished, that's a very good one. Your product is finished when what you're adding.
Some people say it's never finished, but eventually the requirements are met and it goes into maintenance mode. So you don't need a full team to support it.
It can go into maintenance mode, or it can not be relevant anymore. And then it's easy for a product owner to say,
yeah, that's the easy way. But
we shut it down.
Relevant.
It is relevant,
It's
okay.
still used. It's not customer facing, so you don't need to really be on top of things. It works, but it still needs maintenance from time to time. Then what's the strategy?
Why does it need maintenance from time to time?
No, it does need maintenance, but it doesn't require a full team of 7 developers to work on it.
Then you should not work with a full team of developers on it. A product development effort in Scrum is useful.
Yeah.
And maintaining a system,
But then you are stuck with part of the team that originally developed, in best case, the product.
it should never be a part of the team. It should be one team focused on one task. And if you have a product that is finished development, then you can move on to the next product.
Yeah, but your product needs 1 day, 2 days, a month, maybe of maintenance, on average, let's say.
In DevOps we say you run it, you're responsible for it.
Yeah. So you're going to hire 8 people, 7 people to do 2 days of work.
I didn't say that a team cannot have more than one product. Yes, if one product is done and it requires once in a while that the team who created it looks at it, then that team should still be responsible for it. And it doesn't mean they cannot do something else as well. They should then have a new product. There's always something to do in IT in an organization.
I agree. And then you have 10 years. After 10 years, you have X products that you are maintaining and also taking on new products.
And you
Then you
didn't
don't have
recognize
one
that I said you are an economic product owner. If your team still has, I don't know, 20 products to maintain, you should make them maintainless. Maintainless. If it works, it's fine. Otherwise, shut it down. Why does your organization need that many applications? Is it really necessary? Are there other applications?
Needs to be upgraded. You might need to upgrade your application technology, for example.
Could
Or
be.
you're going to stay running on outdated technology and have security risks. So
As I said, many organizations, many ways to do it. But yeah, you always have to ask yourself, is the effort I'm putting into a product still worth what the team costs? And if that is so, yeah, then that team stays on, because then the economic benefit is there. If it's not, then you should also try to remove applications that are still in use by some users, but maybe not necessary. Or some things that I see HR systems in a lot of banks that are run by internal IT people. Really, not necessary. HR systems are very good off the shelves at the market, available. Forget your internal IT. You're never going to be as good as an external product that's on the market. And I don't mean adjust that market product until you have a lot of consultants intern that need to adjust your board software continuously. No, just use the thing off the shelf. It's much cheaper. Standardize.
First, compliments for your talk.
Thanks.
And another question that I think many of us face, I heard in a podcast a couple of weeks back, isn't it unfair to ask the technical team to put an effort estimate on a story without asking the business to put a value estimate on the story? So it's a nice sentence. I think many of us see that we, as a technical team, we have to poker it, but we don't know exactly why the priority is in the way it is given. So can you give us some guidance on helping the product owner who doesn't do that, telling us the value of every story in how to do that?
Well, he indirectly put a value on stories that are not pokered yet, because that's the only way he can order them in a backlog. So you can ask him, why has this more value than this? And most of the product owners have an answer to that. They don't have an absolute figure. But even then, you can support your product owner in finding out that value. What I did with payment requests at Rabobank, I was done developing it for the private customer. Well, then I had the challenge, okay, what do I do with it? Maybe there are more customer segments. Hey, yes, we have business people who have a problem with payment moral of their clients. Let's find a way what they can use our application to increase payment moral. We actually did a pilot with a client who asked his people to click on a link, and his clients to click on a link, and we asked how many clients actually would pay via the new method. And we collected that evidence, and we went back, hey, we have something that would give us, with one business client, about 50% of his clients would pay via the new method. That is a number that can be translated to value. So yes, that's not always useful. Not always systems have external customers that you can measure. But you always have internal stakeholders or users, and they want this feature or this system developed because they're using it or they're needing it for something. And the output for needing it or what they do with it, you can always find one or the other measurement. One common measurement is time. Measure the time a person puts a form into an internal system. Sit next to it with a stopwatch, measure the time, multiply it by the amount of requests they're processing per week, and say, hey, this is the value we can save if we do this in half the time. Yes, no, not all development work for product development track is technical. Sometimes you also need to do things like this. And it's new for us, but it's very exciting. Help though? Does it help? Okay, then we're done. Thank you.